Greetings, brothers and sisters, and welcome to BBP. Now, last week, I started talking about suffering, and I want to expand on a couple of points here today. I got some really good questions and comments last week, so if you can think of a comment you want to add, don't hesitate to drop it below. Anyway, I said that God uses suffering as a way to draw us closer to Himself. Suffering has a reason and a purpose in our lives, but we can't even begin to understand that until we connect with our Creator. More about that in a minute. I also said that many times we're misguided in our efforts to console when we say to people that God won't allow anyone to suffer more than they're able to bear. It's just not true. In the Bible, take Job for example. In chapters 1 and 2, he lost his children, his possessions, his servants, and his health. At the end of chapter 2, Job's friends show up to offer their support, and they end up blaming him for his own suffering. Chapter after chapter is nothing but false accusations and assumptions about why he's going through this trial. Only one friend came up with anything that could be considered remotely encouraging. In fact, the wisest words that any of them said were this: nothing. Nothing at all. In chapter 2, verse 13, listen to what they say. So they sat down with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his grief was very great. Let's think about that for a minute. No one spoke a word for a week. Why do we feel like we have to come up with something profound or super spiritual when we're around people who are grieving? The reality is that most of the time words just get in the way because there are no words that can ease the pain. Especially when we hit them with this nonsense that God won't allow anyone to suffer more than they can bear. Please don't say that to anyone. Just show up and be there for them. That's all they really need, is to know that you care enough to be there for them. So back to my point at the beginning. Any hope we have of understanding the reason and purpose for our suffering can only come when we connect with our Creator. And when we reach out to God for understanding, He will do His part and extend to us the right amount of grace to get us through our grief. The suffering may be more than we can bear, but His grace is sufficient to see us through it. The book of 1 Peter gives us a lot of good instruction and encouragement on suffering. Listen to these words in chapter 5, verse 10. But may the God of all grace, who called us to His eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after you have suffered a while, perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you. I love the way he puts that. God will settle you. The idea here is that the crashing waves of anguish are going to subside, and the peace of God will show up and calm your soul. If you're going through a time of grief right now and I can pray for you, please reach out and let me know. I take every prayer request seriously, and I pray for you every day. That's all the time we have for this week, but I'll see you right back here next week with another new video. Until then, keep your eyes on Jesus and not on your troubles. Thank you.